This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to all the viewers. We are currently sitting here in the middle of the African bush at andBeyond in Ngala, and we're watching this sunrise through these majestic trees near the riverbed. So hop along with us as we do our virtual safari here in the African bush, and hopefully we can find some of these amazing animals that we are going to be looking out for in the next little while, which I'm going to show you. So as we mentioned, we're just watching the beautiful sunrise, and it's just such a beautiful morning. We're trying to listen out to hear if there's maybe any alarm calls or maybe some noises like lions roaring in the background. But I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala, and with me on the camera is Owen. Now, the exciting news was, like, last night, somewhere along this road, there was quite a few jackals that were calling, and then a few hyenas that ran down the road into this direction. So we don't know if there's a possibility that there could have been a kill in this area, but what we're going to hopefully do is, I think, let's go and see if there's anything that we can find.
Good morning, and welcome to today's live safari. I'm sitting here in Djuma Game Reserve admiring this beautiful African harrier hawk, or a gymnogene, whatever name you would like to call it. We just checked on the den, and believe it or not, it's completely empty. Devastated. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera, so we're now trying to revise another plan. I'll probably keep popping back at the den, but the reason I wanted to be there so early was, in fact, to see if we could see any signs of Corky. I've been thinking about this and discussing it with other people, and I do think she's sort of indirectly doing a timeshare. So when Ribbon's there's a security guard, a very large, ferocious security guard at the den permanently. So Corky can feel safe that way, that there's an adult guarding her little cub. Even if it's not directly so, the den is protected. And I think Corky must be nocturnally suckling. This cub is very healthy, full, happy, not weak, and definitely not starved. So Corky has to be coming at night time. Is she avoiding Ribbon? Possibly. I got asked that yesterday and I said no. But I guess it is possible that she's avoiding the matriarch for some reason. Both Ribbon's boys and Ribbon herself are far more dominant than Corky these days. We just don't know where Corky sits. So I'll keep doing den checks, but I think we're going to check the west for Mr. Hukamure. He was thought to be heading this way last night. Whether he crossed the western boundary, I do not know. But it'd be so lovely to catch up with that leopard. It appears he's not really came to Djuma again since his battle with Mulwati. Look at that bedhead, isn't it great? Probably waiting until the sun gets a little bit higher. We get some warmth in the air before looking for breakfast. It's 18 degrees Celsius this morning and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's actually very pleasant. Grant, you are correct. This is a very stunning bird. I love the colour of grey. No, that's the wrong word. The shade of grey, should I say. And when the wind blows behind and you see that tuft of feathers, it's rather amusing. They're gorgeous when they fly as well, as they have a big white tail bar that's really striking in flight. And they're really well known for clinging onto trees and poking their head into all sorts of holes as they're looking for eggs or small little birds that they can feast on. They also rob nests, so although they're stunning, they're also very naughty. Well done, Dobby. Markings, you're asking about feathers and bird feathers. Yes, they do have different types of feathers on the body. Not all feathers are the same, and that's because they have, well, different purposes, if you like. The sort of, oh, is it gonna start hunting already? Is it looking for food? If you see an African harrier hawk popping its head in holes like that, it's looking for food. You see that? Yeah, so bird feathers are sort of specially adapted to accommodate a number of different functions. So the feathers on the chest will be very soft and small. They'll be the down feathers, and they are for insulation. So they'll keep the birds nice and warm, especially on chilly mornings like this morning. And they're not rigid, and that's why they're able to assist in insulation. Then you have the contour feathers, and they basically give shape. So they're very, very rigid and very structured, and they'll give shape to facilitate the bird's movement through the air. So each and every individual species will have different contour feathers depending on how they fly or how they hunt or what their unique specializations are. And then you'll have the retrices, and that's the tail feathers. And this assists in sort of steering and assisting the bird in flight. If you think of the batelier that has very short tail feathers, and then you compare that to a woodpecker who has very long, rigid tail feathers, which is needed for support when the woodpecker is balancing against a wood. So it depends on exactly what the bird itself needs the feathers for. And then there's flight feathers. And they are, of course, the ones that are mainly found on the wings. And it's really important that these flight feathers are also very, very rigid because, well, they're assisting the bird in flight. And you get primary and secondary flight feathers, and they'll be layered and layered on top of one another, depending on what species you're looking at. So yes, they all have different types of feathers, uniquely positioned in different ways for each and every individual species. He's hunting. This bird is hunting. He's looking for breakfast. Water birds are a great example. They'll have specially adapted water feathers or water collecting feathers that are normally on the breast, and they will assist this bird when it's moving through the water. An African harrier hawk would definitely not have those type of feathers. Beach girl, good to hear from you. We said you were a new viewer the other day. I apologise. You've been with us 11 years. 11 years been watching Safari Live, you said. So this harrier hawk, according to my bird app, as I do not know the sizes of every single bird, it weighs 750 grams maximum, and it grows to about 65 centimeters in height. Not entirely sure what that is in inches, I'm afraid. I'm a centimeter girl. But yes, it's not the largest of birds, especially for a bird of prey. There's a fork-tailed drongo studying us, is making all the noise, watching us. Oh, it's disappeared again. MGM, you're asking about hornbills? Are they safe from the African harrier hawk? Nest, I thought you were referring to the actual bird. Hornbills obviously grow very large as well. Nests, probably not. Harrier hawks specialise in eggs, other bird eggs, especially the sort of nests that are put into tree cavities or holes. That's the ones that the African harrier hawks really favour. That's why they pop. That's what it's doing right now. It's looking for food. See, look at the way he's using his head, putting it down, studying how to get in there. So they wouldn't attack birds, but they do attack eggs and very, very small nestlings. Oh, what a wonderful morning sighting. We are now going to bumble west, and let's hope we find some signs of the hook.
Good morning. This is Djuma from andBeyond, Phinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see right behind the camera, Marcel is right there. And we just located two several lines. Remember, we was just live right here. If you look, yeah, as you can see here, right here, we were coming actually to try to find some cheetah where we left them last night. Sadly, we get surprised by these two separate lines, so which is good. And the good thing we're trying to check here, it looks like they all ran away. And as we're sitting here, we can hear some miles away from some impala alarm calling, which is good chance to be them, where they must be trying to run away from these guys. So these two, they just hanging around here. They've been separated from the pride, which has come from the mountain pride. This is one of the young lioness over there. That's what you can see. And on our left, we also have the young male. He's just lying here, very, very, very young male. So as you can see, he's got like these small mane start growing, and he's just hanging around with his sister, which is amazing. I don't know why they separate from the pride, but I know one of the lioness, two of the lioness, they have actually five small cubs. Maybe one of the reasons why they don't want any other lions to join them, because the cubs are still small, so they don't want them to interfere from the feeding whenever they're eating, because these guys, they can eat a lot. So the cubs, they can suffer to get food. So it's one of the reasons why. Sanitary, confirm this. How old are these lions? Age. Okay. By looking these little mane, and also help a lot because, like this one already about 15 to 16 months old already. So they're not full matured yet. So they're still like very young. But they'll be still with the pride from this stage. Just only the reason why they've been kicked off, they might be come across the less lines with a small cub. So for now, that young male, when he's about 18 to 19, he's going to be kicked off from the rest of the pride. But at the moment, yeah, he's still like, yeah, 15, 16 months old. That's how you can tell by looking at his mane and his size as well. It's a lovely morning. There's not so much wind. Just a little wind blowing, but not strong enough. I wonder where the other lions, because actually 4 of them, of the Sabi, they not actually 2 of them, they're not around, including the mothers. There'll be like 4 animals are not around with these 2. So they're gonna have to work hard try and find them. But from this age, they can able to hunt and catch something. Very good hunting, especially that lioness, the younger lioness over there. I've seen them circling around ahead of wildebeest, which was very good, but they couldn't catch anything. They're just sitting here, listening for the lovely morning, the sound. Sometimes they can pick up the odor of other lions. Sometimes they can hear some other animals calling, like a hippos, or yeah, anything they can. It's possible for them to listen because there's not so much wind. See something that I come across there. Whoa, another one here. You see, I'm gonna roll slightly forward. I saw a 2 of the crowned eagle. That's what was making the monkeys alarming earlier. Wow, guys, this is amazing to see. These are two crowned eagle right over the tree there. If you look, and that younger lioness, and Marcel is gonna try to zoom in over the tree, on top of the tree. There's a 2 amazing, massive bird which are sitting there. These are birds that can able to actually kill the monkeys. That's why the monkeys, they were alarming crazy earlier. There we go. One just took off. Landed again. Oh, they're chasing each other now. Wow, it's just amazing to see this bird, which you can see them clear. That will be the male and the female hunting together, helping each other. Wow. That's a little bit difficult. I'm going to slightly move forward again, trying to get a better view, because the trees on is away. Okay. Oh, because something, eh? Wow, it just dropped. How come? Because there's a full signal here. Bad. can't believe it. It's just, did they also drop?
And welcome to the southeastern portions of Djuma Private Game Reserve. There we have got two hyenas on the prowl. Now I'm rather hoping they're looking for the same thing I am. That one was just smelling the scat of a leopard. And we were looking for a leopard in this area yesterday. There were a hyena in this area yesterday. So hopefully we'll be lucky and we'll get some leopard action with any luck. My name is James Hendry. Hello. Niels is on camera. There is his thumb. We'll just look at you while the strap's up. Probably gone now. Let's go back to the hyenas. I hope you're all well. Remember to talk to us during the course of the drive. I'm sure the others have all told you that. Hashtag WildEarth on the tweet. Alternatively, the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch will work just as well. And if you are a youngster, kids questions at wildearth.tv. Now, where this bunch are off to, I'm very interested in, because we are hoping that they are heading towards some perhaps meaty prize. And ideally that meaty prize will be hanging in a tree and be accompanied by Tundi the leopard and her cub. Our return this morning has been one spotted eagle owl. It was very interesting actually. I'll tell you about it while we drive. We heard some grey go-away birds going absolutely crazy and some drongos, and we knew there was a predator of some sort, and we went into the bush and there was an owl. He flew off silently as we walked in, so that was quite fun. But other than that, not much. We'll follow these hyenas for as long as we can. George, I think this is the most widespread species of hyena, the spotted hyena. It is certainly the one that is able to survive in the greatest number of conditions. They are highly adaptable. They are unfortunately heading down into a reserve where we may not follow. Hello. Where are you going? I'm pretty sure this is a member of the Djuma clan. I don't know which member of the Djuma clan it is, but it's one of them. Oh, and there they go into Little Gari, which is the reserve to the south of Djuma. Very, very, very inconsiderate of them. Let's just drift slowly along the road here and see if there isn't anything in one of the marula trees on the ridge crest here. Make sure there aren't. Oh, there are leopard tracks around, but I think they're from a little while back. So there go the hyenas. Let's get my binoculars out. Scan the treetops. No, I see naught but treetops. What we will do is also go down and check Chitwa waterhole, that's not far from here, and that is the trajectory on which those hyenas are heading. So there it is. Let's continue. We had hyenas in there yesterday, we had leopard tracks in there yesterday evening. We've all heard that story many times. I'll probably head off down towards Chitra Dam now, and I believe you're heading off to a rise. It's rising. Coming up.
The sunrise this morning is absolutely spectacular. If you look at the golden colors at the moment, it's just bringing out the wonders of a new day. Now, early on, we decided to come into this area. We're quite close to the river, hence the big trees that you see that the sun is rising behind. And the reason for that is because, remember, we said there was some jackal and hyenas in this area last night, and we were hoping that possibly there could be a kill during the evening. So we're looking up in some of these big trees. We haven't seen anything yet. But then as we were driving, we saw the beautiful sunrise, and we always just take a bit of time to appreciate that. You'll just notice in the background there's quite a few crested franklins as well as Natal spurfowls that are calling. So just listen to them as we watch the sunrise. So I'd love, while we are watching this, I would love to hear from the viewers if they can describe to us with a one-word tweet of what they think about the sunrise. Like if you had to describe it, how would you describe it in one word? Magical? That's mine. X-Rang, I can't agree with you more. It almost feels like while we're sitting here, you can feel the warmth. It's like this morning wasn't a very warm day, however, I mean, it wasn't a cold day. However, with that sun coming through, it almost like gives you this warm appreciation, this warm, fuzzy feel to almost like embrace this whole morning. Now, hopefully with this beautiful sunrise, there'll be some beautiful animals we can see. I'm even happy, even if we just see a zebra during this drive, I'll be super happy. So I think what we'll do is let's just wait for the sun just to move up a little bit more, and then we'll carry on with our search. Adeline, I agree with you. And that's a good one. Beautiful, that's how we can describe it. I think what we'll do from here is let's slowly carry on. Now, as we're driving, I want to hear from the kids as well as some of the other viewers if they would like to know how do we find direction using possibly our watch, maybe the stick shadow technique, and then maybe later on this evening we can show you. But of course, I first want to hear if you want to see that, and I'll show you how to use different instruments that you might have with you in order to find your direction if you had to be stranded in a wilderness area. So let me know, I'd love to hear. There's also, with this warm feeling from the sun, there's also this crisp, fresh air from some of the trees. It almost like smells like, I'm trying to get the right word to describe it, almost like a wild jasmine smell. Very lovely. Oh, there's some impala. Just wanted to quickly stop here because it's quite nice with the beautiful sunlight on them. Just notice the colors, especially of, oh, don't move. Like, it looks to me like all of them are males. So it's probably just a bachelor herd that are grouped together. Just trying to see the way that they move. Maybe we have to reposition just to get another glimpse. But look at how well this impala blends into this environment. And I mean, look at the very dark back, lightish colors on the belly and that little white around the tail. Doesn't it just blend in with the shades of grass around it? And also the horns. Look at how they resemble some of the branches in that thick cluster of trees. But of course, like any male, early in the morning, breakfast is very important. So see how he's just maneuvering. It looks like he's picking some leaves there, and maybe it might even be some strands of tall grass. You can see this one, the horns have already started growing. But you can see they're almost like growing towards each other, like two pinches, before they eventually loop out to form those beautiful horns that we normally see the big impala rams with. But I think the view isn't too great with these impalas. The boss, with the impala horns, they can get pretty large. I mean, the largest that I've seen is probably around, I think it's safe to say 23 inches, 24 inches. So that's pretty long. I mean, it's also hard to see because they have that curve. But if you had to go and measure it, you could be looking at around about anywhere from 10 inches from the younger ones all the way up to 23, maybe 25. That will be, I consider, a massive impala. Guys, in terms of the predators, I would say that impalas would probably be the most hunted. But it also depends on the area. In some areas, you don't really get a lot of impala in that area, and so therefore they'll go for zebra or wildebeest. But in an area where there's quite a few impala, and they're quite abundant, you might look at wild dogs could go for them, lions, leopard. But I think mainly leopard is going to be, and wild dogs will be their main predators. Sometimes lions would try for impala, but there's more likely that if there's a big pride, they'll go for something bigger, because if they go for something as small as impala, it's some of the members of the pride might hardly get a bite, but they could. I mean, the one day we were tracking a pride of lions, and we tracked them for like 6 kilometers, and during that 6 kilometers, they actually killed an impala twice. Or killed 2 impalas during that whole move before they eventually ended up at water. So they do catch impala, but I think if they do catch them, especially a pride that's more than 10 lines, I don't even think it will last 6 or 7 minutes and it will be all gone. So Trixie, I'm definitely going to show you how to do those little survival trips. So later on this morning, we'll find a beautiful spot, hopefully with the leopard in the background, and I'll show you.
Sounds great, Nikki. I rarely know what the time is, ever. I'm very glad I have my phone attached to me, the only way that I know the time. I'm only joking. Now, we found fresh female leopard tracks on the road that is my favourite, the highway of Djuma, Zoe's road. Now, we don't have them in front of us right now. We lost them. This female has definitely been on territorial patrol. How do I know that? She's weaving. She's weaving. Her tracks are going to the trees. She's coming back again, and that's normally an indicator that they are on territorial patrol. So, we're going to try and get to this big junction ahead and piece together what's happening. It sounds like Hukamuri really was headed for Djuma last night, so I haven't managed to pick up any signs of him, but I'm in the west, and that's what I'll work today, since no one was at my den. Hyena den was empty. We've been very lucky with hyenas the past few days, so extremely lucky. And if no luck on the leopard front, then we will head back to the den just a little bit later and see if there's any activity. The only leopard that I think would be using this road is Tswalu. I could be wrong though. The movements are all over the place at the minute. Adelaide, you're 6 years old. Hi, it's great to have you on board. You're asking what is the smallest mammal in Africa? Ooh, I think that's a very tough question. I know the smallest carnivore that we get out here is a dwarf mongoose in the Lowveld at least. But I'm actually not sure what the smallest mammal is. I'm guessing it would probably be something like the bushveld gerbil in this area. I'm going to have to check and get back to you, Adelaide. In Africa, ooh, Africa's a really, really big continent. It's much larger than people think it is, from north to south. So let me check for the entire continent for you, and I will get back. I did not get that, Rebecca. You might have to repeat that. Apparently you were not able to hear me, but I'll need to check for you. For the entire continent of Africa, Adelaide, I'm really not sure what the smallest carnivore is. So I will get back to you. And yes, it's very windy out here, especially when I'm driving. The junction that we're looking for is just up ahead. And hopefully we'll see some tracks. Either this female's going to pop out, we're going to see signs of a male, or we're going to see nothing. Balanites Junction. And here we are. Davi, I hope your eyes are ready. Oh my goodness. Nothing on my side, nothing on Davi's side. It looks like no one has moved this way. No one has passed through. So our leopardess must have went in the opposite direction. And this is what we do when we come to junctions. We spend some time checking, but I can already see it's completely smooth. I'm going to take a bit of a gamble and go west. Nothing so far, except evidence of elephants knocking all the trees over. Being destructive, but not intentionally so. by elephants constantly knocking over trees, they're actually reshaping the ecosystem out here. They're ecosystem engineers, and they're important. It's important that they do that for nutrients, access to food, and all sorts of other animals out here can benefit from the trees being knocked over. But most importantly, for the nutrient cycle. That constant cycle that's happening that we can't see of all the nutrients in the environment, especially going into the soil. So to our eyes, it looks like elephants are being very destructive, and by knocking over trees, I guess that is the word that you would use. But in reality, it's essential for the ecosystem out here for elephants to do that. They're architects, great big giant architects. Another junction I want to check. Okay, nothing again. Nobody has walked this way, so I'm going to keep checking west. Let's see what I can find.
Good morning. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Kat, and we are driving around on Prrivate, which is a part of Tswalu Game Reserve here in the Greater Kruger National Park. So, last night, very busy for animals. We had lions roaring in the west, we had lions roaring in the east. We have not found either set of lions that have been roaring. And then we also had some very fresh leopard tracks just going down along the railway line tracks, which is just off to the west. So we have told Norman, who is our senior tracker and also an instructor at Eco Training, and he's come out to help us so that he can jump on foot and trail the animal successfully. So he did message me, and he said that he's had some alarm calls. He's got the leopard tracks, and it sounds like he turned, where we had his tracks, he turned off from where the railway line goes and into this drainage system that's just off to our left. So I'm going to drive very slowly along here because I want to be in the area if he does say he's got him on foot. I have a feeling it might be Shimungwe, which is a big male leopard that we've seen once before. And he does like this area. He patrols this area a fair amount, and he's one of the more relaxed leopards. So we shall see. Lots of hyena activity as well throughout the entire night. They were definitely trying to get into the kitchen at the Eco Training Camp, which was exciting. I could hear all sorts of commotion. And yeah, just lots of tracks and things in general. So fingers crossed that the next time you come back to us, we have a leopard.
There's a few kurus that are moving in this open area, just past the impala that we were earlier at. But have a look at the beautiful bull. Just notice how the white colors, how it really stands out. And every time he goes into your dense area, do you notice how he just lowers his head so those horns don't get hooked onto the branches? But look at that. See how they often move, and look at how the back foot, when they do move, almost like steps into the track of the front foot, just to be a little bit more quiet as they move along. Because often with kudu, see that male here, just notice those little white markings between his eyes. They're often referred to as chevron markings. But if you notice the colors, the stripes that run vertically, the horns, the white tips at the end of the horns, just the whole color of the kudu and the big ears tells us that there's an animal that often occurs in really dense areas, because with that the white lines and the trees in the back, you'll notice how well that it really blends in. Look at the trees now, for example, that it's moving through. Look at the whitish stems and the white on the back, and how well that kudu would blend into an area like this. And those big round ears, as soon as there's anything making a bit of noise, they'll be able to hear it. There's even some oxpeckers trying to get into those big ears to get to the ticks. I think we were very lucky to get a glimpse like that. Normally with kudus, often if they see a vehicle, they do move off quite quickly, and you don't have too much time. There's actually a lonely wildebeest that's all by himself right in the middle from where those kudus came past earlier. So there he's standing. So it doesn't look like there's others around. I've tried to scan with the binoculars. I can only see that one. And I think it might be just a bull that's all by itself.
Welcome back, everyone. We just located that's the male lion again, right here on front of us. He's just chilling out nicely, lying down, which is good for him. I think he must be covered long distance overnight. As you can see, he's not even bothering by us being around him. So we'll just sit here and enjoy him, watching him see what he does after this. Look how black his mane, black tail. He just chill, not worrying about anything at all. If you remember earlier on, we were with these two Sabi, we just left them. They just moved into the thick area, so we carried on driving. Luckily, we come across this beautiful male lion. So, which has been a beautiful morning, a lucky morning so far. So, that's how the male lion, like 5 days ago, he was with the female, busy mating. They must be finished now. He's just wandering around all by himself now, trying to find his brother probably, because he's one of the Bayala male. He has his brother. Dylan, they can sleep wherever they find more comfortable for them, but sometimes because they'll be using more from the road, they find them very nice and warm. Mostly they'll try to find a nice place, a comfortable place actually to just lie. They can be anywhere, Dylan. Look, just keep on listening. You must be hearing something what you couldn't hear, because a very good sense of hearing. And I think also the wind, as the wind picked it up a little bit, he just didn't want to miss anything. But now his eyes open, close. It's just you guys again. Because remember, he's the king of the jungle. He's not worrying about anything. Look at the size of his paws. It's amazing to see how big their paws. Scott, as you can see, like adult male, a man hand. It's how big it can be. Quite a big paws, Scott. Yeah, look, his eyes are just closed. But just keep on listening. I'm not sure what is up to. Edlen, the reason why they roll, sometimes you see them walking, scent marking on the trees, and which is marking the territory. Because they have a voice box, actually, they're easy for them also to make exactly the same thing, like advertising themselves into the area, letting other male not come out into their area, or also letting the female he is around, if in case is any female looking for him, because normally the female will start trying to find a male. So this is one of the reasons why. And also that male, Dylan, he will only most of the time they will roll early in the morning or late in the evening, or whole or at night, midnight. That is because the sound they can easily travel from a long distance, Dylan. More, it's a good question. Yeah, it depending how far from the line. When a line staring at you, very close by, yes, you can freeze. You can feel it. It's a different animal, and the way they look, the eyes are actually quite scary. But you just freeze. Your body just freeze when he's staring at you very close by. But on a distance, they're not scary at all. Yeah, he's closing his eyes now. I'm hope he's gonna get up and move, because that on a road like this is not a good place for him to rest for the day. He must try to find a nice shady spot when he start getting hot a little bit, because it looks like it's gonna be a hot day as I can see the sky. For now, I think he must be just resting, because he must be traveling long distance overnight, marking his territory, patrolling, trying to also find his blood. Because also when they call, they use a lot of energy when they roll. So it must be one of the reasons why he just lie down like that now, catch up more energy. Someone coming flying there. He's gonna get surprised. Yeah, let's see it. Because just looking at now, he's gonna turn around, take the other way, because there are so many ways, so many options.
Come on, it's fading. Come on. Good morning from the most spectacular morning at Tswalu Kalahari. Look at that light on the hills there, on those clouds. It's Jean on camera, by the way, and my name is Dylan. For those of you who haven't met us yet, I'm just blown away by the beauty of this place this morning. It is spectacular. It is unreal. Compared to yesterday, it is now probably like 95% cloud cover. It's just little patches on the horizon that are still open, but you got this massive front that's moving in here. The temperature's plummeted. There was even a little bit of drizzle last night, very, very light drizzle, but enough to make things super crisp this morning. So it is really chilly. We are at our meerkats. I'm hoping they are going to come out. The burrows are really sheltered from the wind. The wind is moving out the south. It's been pushing off the Atlantic over the past weeks. It's finally got to us. But look at that cloud cover. These are the days that make you feel alive like nothing. This is just out of the world, out of this world. Oh, and it's good to have you all with us. Yeah, I get excited on mornings like this. So what's not to like about this? This is just the best. So really, I hope you're going to stick with us. I hope you're going to ask us some questions, and yeah, just enjoy being with us. And it's great having you along. And I hope you've all got a nice hot coffee somewhere. Kelly, you read my mind there. You said it looks like it's on fire. You know, it's funny. The song that came to mind there was that Ed Sheeran song, "I See Fire." When Jean and I got here this morning, that mountain was absolutely glowing. It literally, Jean even said it actually looks like there's a fire at the top there. It's fading very, very quickly now as the angle of the sun is changing and the clouds are pushing further over to the east over there. But it was just absolutely mind-blowing, and it still is spectacularly beautiful. So yeah, I'm really excited to be out here. The wind is cold. It is really, really cold, but it's all good. And that's what we're here for, is just to experience this in all of its different, stages, not just the perfect weather. These kind of days are exactly part and parcel of what we do.
Here we have got a fish eagle at Chitwa. And our fish eagle seems to be a bit ruffled by the wind, but that's okay. There's a lot of kind of haze in the air at the moment, and I hesitate to say this on the 11th of July, but it feels a little bit like the winter is sort of being replaced by the August winds. That's the sort of temperature and vibe we're getting. The fish eagle is now bathing itself. By that I mean it's not actually bathing, it's just cleaning itself up, oiling its feathers for the day. Then we've got down below some waterbuck and some wildebeest and some impala, but the waterbuck are now having a little set to, which is quite cool. There, no, to the left, Niels. That's them. There we are. Come on, don't stop now. Can you hear that? Did you hear that little grunting, moaning sound? That's another almost adult waterbuck bull approaching. It went meow. Sounds like a baby antelope, but it is in fact an almost adult waterbuck bull. Let me just roll forward. Come on. I'll have to start the engine. There we are. An amazingly strange noise. Anyway, I don't think this is a serious fight. I think it's a fairly innocuous little meeting. All right, let's go over to Lauren. She's got a bird.
We have another bird, another raptor. Immediately you know it's a raptor. Look at those talons. Look at the way this bird of prey is clinging onto that branch. Look at the beak. Look at that yellow eye. I think we have an African hawk eagle here. There were two, but unfortunately one flew off. And I think this is the pair that we normally see in this sort of western edge of Djuma. They have been nesting here. They're winter nesters. Looking down, you see that? Looking for food. Most birds of prey are highly visual. They rely on their eyesight. There's a whole area to scan below. He's looking for something. They prey on other birds. Even birds as big as francolin and guinea fowl. They swoop down on them and pick them up with their talons, and then they can kill them with the beak. But they will also prey on squirrels, scrub hares, mongooses. Bless me, I just sneezed, sorry about that. Bush babies, and any other sort of rodents that might be around. Wow. Stunning. unsure about identifying the African hawk eagle, especially because we've got a back view. They've got quite an obvious white chest streaked with black feathers, but we've obviously got the backside view. And you can see that broad band, that broad tail band right at the end of the tail feathers that we were talking about earlier. They're quite long in this individual. They look very rigid, square at the bottom, and there's that band. Stunning. I wonder if the other one will come back. Now, Adelaide, I did some research for you, and I believe the smallest mammal in Africa is a type of shrew, and it's tiny, and it can be known as a white-toothed pygmy shrew. I think you should Google it if you can, Adelaide, or ask your mom and dad to do that for you, because it's really cute. And it looks to be smaller than the size of my index finger. And in the entire continent of Africa, I think that is the smallest mammal. When you're talking about Africa, Africa is bigger than Canada, the US and China put together, and that's the size of the continent of Africa. River, you're asking about the leg feathers, which is a very good point, because it's one of the key identification features that we use to separate eagles, well, true eagles from snake eagles, should we say. But the African hawk eagle is a true eagle, and that means that there are feathers going down the legs. They're just very white and difficult to notice. I'm wondering if this is a younger African hawk eagle, just from the sort of coloration on the feathers. The immature eagles, or African hawk eagles, do look different from the adults. I wonder if this one is just slightly immature. The immature are more brown, and it's slightly difficult to tell from this angle. But there are feathers going down the legs. Lulu, yes, of course it has strong legs. They need to have strong legs. That's what is involved in being a raptor, relying on those talons to seize. Oh! And off we go. Yes, I think I was an adult African hawk eagle, away to join its monogamous partner somewhere over that side. So my search of the West continues to look for Mr. Hukamure.
The waterbuck have been having a great set to here. Nice little fight. They seem to have stopped now. We might just move. Well, every time they look like they're going to have a set to, it's always behind a bush. It is so deeply irritating. There we go. Surely they won't manage to get behind the bush now. They do, George. That's where they get their name from. Precisely that, running into water to get away from predators. It's not because they swim or spend a lot of time in the water. And the bulls set their territories around water. And so, although this is a fairly innocuous fight so far, they can become very aggressive with each other around water. I think that unfortunately the box seems to be over. Now Jordan, you'll find, I love this question because it's a really interesting one. You'll find that mammals have got pretty much the same joints as you do and the same bones that you do. They are just different shapes and different sizes, and some of them are fused and some of them aren't. So if we look down that leg, if you don't mind, Niels. Yeah, zoom into the four legs of that waterbuck there. If we look at the back legs there, Jordan, that bend, that very obvious bend, is the same as your ankle bend. So those small bones in your foot are the same as the lower leg of the waterbuck, and they're fused together into what we call the metatarsal bones. So you've got them all split up in your foot and they end in your toes, and here they're fused to form the sort of metatarsal bone, or sometimes they call it a cannon bone. And so that would be the ankle, same as your ankle. Then if you look on the front foot, what looks like a knee is in fact the wrist. So the wrist is that bend that's just bent there. That's the wrist joint, right? And same story down the front. It's called the metacarpal bone, and that's like the small bones of your hand fused into one. And then the knee, the knee is just above the back leg there, just almost where the back leg joins the body. That's where the knee is. All right, so although it doesn't look like they have elbows and knees, they do. The elbow is the top of the front leg. There, you can just see that joint there. It'll be easier to show you a picture of it, but I don't have one in a book. Nice question there, Jordan. Thank you. That infrastructure you can see is from the dam. We're at a jam, in case you thought we were in a zoo, which we are not. Hello, Francie. The reason they've got white on their bottoms, we think, is mostly because they use that white marking to follow each other. Now, that's kind of the answer that anybody will give you whenever they see anything unusual on the backside of an animal. But I don't think it's a bad answer. So it's probably to help them follow each other. Good question there. So a huge number of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And a few more have gone down towards the other side of the dam wall. So that's about 20 odd waterbuck bulls. They're all bulls, all males. No females or cows. So Jordan, just going back to your question, if you go and you look at the bone structure of a bat even, you'll see that it's got very similar kinds of bones to yours. They're just in slightly different places, often in very different places, and they're often very different shapes and designs because they're not designed for the same thing. Interesting, hey? And in fact, even if you look at something like a reptile or a fish, it's pretty similar. And it speaks to our evolutionary history, and is quite a nice way to see how similarly animals are designed, and therefore how closely related they are or how distantly related they are. So if you go and look at dolphins' fins, you'll find the 5 digits that are in your hand, you'll find them in a dolphin's fin. Some impala running down here. Well, Shenzi, it's the same kind of thing, The back legs of a hyena are exactly the same. They have the knee joint in the same place as that waterbuck bull does. It's just smaller. So the hyena's back leg is much more similar to the waterbuck's than it is to ours. But the knee joint is in the same place, just where the body joins the leg. And the ankle joint is in the same place. And those of you who've got cats or dogs, and cats or dogs who are compliant and unlikely to bite you, pick them up or go and have a look, especially at the back leg. That big bend that goes to the back of the animal, which is the ankle joint, you can definitely see that on a cat. It'll be slightly, the ankle part will be slightly lower down on the cat than it is on the dog, and even lower down than it is on something like these impala or waterbuck. The impala have just arrived now. Oh, and there's a whole lot of zebra coming too, Niels. There's a great flurry of activity going on next to us. This is very exciting. Impalas are chasing each other, the zebras are chasing each other.
Welcome back, everyone, again. We are still with this beautiful male lion. He's just still lying down. He hasn't moved yet, but he's been keep on checking every now and again. But he gone back sleep again. As you can see, just open his eyes and it's just closed again, which means he hasn't been disturbed by anything. As you can see, he's been listening up to some baboon barking earlier, and he almost roared, but then he just thought, no, that is not the language I talk, and then he just kept quiet and lie down again. So I hope he's still gonna be here for a little while, but as you can see, the sun's coming up. He might feel a little bit uncomfortable with the heat, and then he were trying to move, find a good spot for him for the day, because they doesn't normally traveling when it's very a hot day. They spend some much day lying down, and there's very good spot for shady. For now, he's still comfortable on the road here. Look at him, beautiful, beautiful animal. This is my favorite animal, the lion, male lion actually. Look at his lovely mane, and if we look at his face, and he doesn't have so much scar on his face, but a little bit of just above his nose, that you can see that must be scratched from when they're fighting. But he's comparing to his brother. His brother had a very big scar on his eye, which is come from him when they also just meeting each other after from their separation. Then they'll sometimes get a bit more argument, and then they get a bit more aggressive and they end up fight. But sometimes they forgot his brother, and later on and they realize his brother, and they start licking each other, apologizing. So he's very smart, doesn't have so much scar. Yeah, he's just nice male, and he's just calm, and he's very relaxed as well. Get to use the vehicle a lot, and then as you can see, he actually trusting us a lot. The way he tell by looking at his way he's lying flat, they're more comfortable. His eyes even very close. When they're not comfortable, he'll be keep on checking on us, making sure. And also the distance we gave it to him, it is very good, so he get more comfortable as well. Must be the way he's looking now. He hates the vehicle coming behind us. That's why he's looking now. But otherwise, you realize that the vehicle is not coming. Okay, it depending how aggressive the vehicle to them, but if the vehicle come with the respect, they will just keep on lying down because they actually love their respect. So you can see the cars coming behind us, and there are some of the it looks more strange, different from our vehicle. It's one of the staff members. They're just driving around. So he, as you can see, the way he's looking, it's totally different from looking to us. So as soon as they move back, he's gonna come back comfortable a bit more again, because he's not too sure if the car is gonna come passing him. But if the car keep on coming, he might move away. Okay. Yeah, I can hear the baboons as well barking. That's why he's changing direction, looking. Yo, look, it looks like now he's getting up. He's gonna start finding another direction for himself to lie down, maybe. Or he's gonna continue walking where because he knows exactly where he's going to. Oh, he's gonna change position. Oh, look his belly. That's why also he's so lazy. Yeah. Now I can understand why. Yeah, he might be headed. Sorry, Scott, a bigger name? Men. Scott, it depends. Scott, is depending from the genetic as well. Some of the gene pools are very, very small male, and you can easily find a big male line, but you'll find him with a very small male. Some of the small male line, but with a big mane, also depending from the genetic as well, and the area where they live. But we might sometimes hear some other people talking about their dominant, but also depending from the genetic as well. Yeah, big male, yes, you can have a small mane, Scott. Yeah, his belly is unbelievable. Where he's lying now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna move too far. Maybe he'll find a spot very close by, just to lie down for the day. Yeah, you can hear it. Is that if you look at that mane, it's got more. There's like two different mane color. If you look, it's got more black, and it got also like more lighted color, which is normal from the male line like this. Some of the male line you can find like only like blondie, like what I can say. But yeah, this has got two color Z. Especially when the sun's shining direct to him, yes, it's even more beautiful. Maybe the way he's lying, he doesn't want to move anywhere. We're not too sure. Maybe he has a kill close by, one of these bushes around. Because this is a place where normally he won't be spending so much time lying down here. the reason why I'm saying that, because if I look the way his belly is full, and also he doesn't want to move or anywhere, yeah, it's a very good chance to be a kill very close by. But we can only find out later if he's going to be still around this afternoon. See what he does. So very difficult to see if there's any under this thicket around on the left of us, but because we just find him lying down here, it was going to be easy to tell if he was walking along. But I also remember yesterday there were some tracks of a big male lion. I'm not sure if it was the same one, and also the tracks of a pride. It's a very good chance he might become across to them. Maybe they were on a kill and he stole from them. Yeah, it's lovely when the wind blows on his mane and he it depending also how from them, but it's not. It's very long. It's almost like you see when you're looking for your fingernails, and it might be like 2-3 times of your fingernails. I'm not quite sure how many centimeters there, but I'll check for you, MG. Yeah, his lovely face. Look at him now, he's just looking at us. We'll just sit here and watch, enjoy him.
We have got the coolest tracks over here. Okay, firstly, there's no sign of the meerkats yet. They are still well tucked in bed. The temperature is dropping literally by the minute as we've been sitting here. It's getting pretty cold. No icicles on us yet, but maybe the next couple of days. But have a look at this. Oh, the sand is so warm. I wish I could lie here the whole morning. You're nice. Anyway, look at these tracks over here. Genre, I don't know how much detail you can get on there, but look at the gorgeous detail on these tiny little tracks over here. You can actually see, let me get something smaller. Look at the detail. You can see the toenails on there as well. You can actually see the little pads on the back of the tracks here as well. This is a tiny, and here's this very faint mark over here. That's the front foot as well. So this is a gerbil. Okay, I'd be lying if I tried to take a guess as to which species. Probably a bushveld gerbil, but could be anything else. But these are mice tracks. Tiny. And compared to my finger, well, there you go. Look at the size of those things. I mean, that is minuscule, eh? So this is like probably half the size, not even half the size of a meerkat track. And then they come all along here. They actually move through over here, out and around, and in and out these burrows over here. Lonzi has asked, what is a gerbil? So a gerbil is a mouse. It's a kind of mouse that got these nice long little hind legs, and they actually bounce around very, very quickly. They normally only come out at night. I've only seen them once that I can recall during daylight hours. I'm not saying they don't forage in the day. They do sometimes. I haven't seen that very frequently, but typically at night. And if you look at these burrows, you can see how the wind has swept them clean again. But over here, and that was during the course of the evening, but over here, look at all the mice tracks in and out of this hole. So this also just highlights another point in terms of how important burrow systems like this are for a range of other species. These mice are not excavating these big burrows themselves. Probably ground squirrels broke open and made larger by meerkats as well, but then they also provide shelter for a host of other little things as well. You get insects going down here, you get reptiles sleeping down here, all sorts of things. But this is a nice example of the amount of activity, rodent activity, that was actually out here last night. And a little bit later, I'm going to show you another kind of rodent track very, very close to where we're sitting as well. So the rodents are active here. There's porcupine droppings. Okay, that's not fresh. This one here. Some good cereal, some good breakfast for you. Anyone want a bite? Look how tasty that looks. Can dip it in your coffee even. Or not. But look, that's just vegetation. I'm just kidding there. Don't try it at home, kids. Yeah, look at that. Fiber. I've now been asked to imitate a gerbil. This is going to get embarrassing, folks. Jean-Andre's like, yeah, I'll get you. Okay, let me move away from the burrows, because just now I make the burrows collapse and then I'll feel really bad. Okay, I'm going to do my best gerbil impression here. It's like, okay, yes, this is shocking. Anyway, so I'm a gerbil now. Okay, no, this is like a frog. Wait, it's a gerbil, wait. It's a gerbil. Yes. I'm not even going to say it. That's the worst gerbil that anyone could ever hope to see ever on the planet. This giant gerbil tracks. Look how big those gerbil tracks are. Oh, my word.
How amazing is this? So the trackers this morning, after a very hard effort in trying to find these lions, actually found the whole pride. Well, I don't know if the males are here, but I've seen quite a few lions around, but you can see the one is chewing on a bone. It looks like they might have killed something small like an impala this morning. And just after we spoke about it, but I just want to be quiet so you can hear the crunching noises. Now, the reason why we say it could be possibly an impala, so see the way the others are moving, I think there might be more, something else in the riverbed below. Oh, there's actually a leg. The one just off here to the right has brought out what looks like an impala leg. But we'll wait for them just to stand up again so we can see that. But even the young male that's moving here, you'll notice, like, covered with blood, especially around his face. But there's not a lot that's left, so it had to be something small. But I did see a leg, and it looks like an impala leg. I wonder what the rest of the pride has spotted. Oh, there is a male here. Just have a look and see which one it might be. It does look like it might be that Birmingham young male. So the young male that's been following the rest of the pride. But let's just first wait for him to come out past this tall grass so we can have a look. As you can hear with this one line, how he's basically snarling at this male. Oh, it is the young male. You see, he still has a bit of a limp, but it does look a lot better than a few months ago. And it looks like he's putting more and more pressure on it, so that's good. And I think for him, even joining up with the pride, I don't think he managed to get quite a bit of meat, but I think he still got a little bit. Yeviet, I think with the bones, I'm sure they'll be able to help clean the teeth. I mean, it's similar like to dogs and cats at home, where often if you give them those hard-ish bone type treats, where it helps just to clean it, and I'm sure it will be able. But I think this lion, why it's chewing that bone, is just to try and get to the marrow on the inside. Often with them, if the bone's too big, they can't chew it at all. So they'll only go for the softer, smaller bits. And of course, whatever's left, the hyenas will eventually come and then just clean up the rest of it. But it'll be interesting to see where all these lions are going, because I could see a few going into the riverbed. It might be because of water. Maybe it's because there was something else that they spotted. There's actually a young lion just above this other one. You can see there was the leg of that impala as it pushed it up. So let's see, as soon as the rest of the pride starts going down towards the river, we'll just loop around into the riverbed and see if we can get the pride there. See, there's another one that just got up and started running off towards the river. Bernice, I'm not too sure if she might be here. I tried to see if I could find her, but basically yesterday when we tracked them, it looked like that she was heading towards the pride to possibly join up. Now, I don't know because of the carcass here that she's just moved them to the side, because remember we said often if something is small and and with lions, there's no table manners, they'll basically fight for any bits of meat or scraps that they can possibly get. And so for her, she has to be so careful because if those youngsters get in between all of that, it could be very dangerous, especially for those youngsters. So I think she might have kept them off to the side, but I'm not too sure. So, I mean, the grass in this area is quite tall. So we'll only probably be able to see once the pride starts moving down into a more open area. You can see this one almost feels like there's a bit of a rush because the others have gone down. So it's just trying to get a last little bit of the meat and the skin off before they eventually move down to the river. Can you see there's another one coming out now. See the one just off to the right, that white color. So this is a young female and the other one was a young male. So it's not albinism, it's more like leucistic. So leucistic it's with albinism there's the lack of pigment. Leucism is also lack of pigment, but not to the extreme of albinism. So you can still see with that female that's currently feeding there, the back of her ears will still have. So I'll continue the thought soon, but I think for now, let's quickly send you across to an elephant.
There is a scene that you will all love to see. We're just repositioning. We had to wait till all the elephants crossed the wall. And we're here at Treehouse Dam, exactly the Dam of Nothing. I think the more I call it the Dam of Nothing, the more it's going to prove to me that it's not. Happy here, Dobby? Let's just take a moment, everyone, and enjoy this spectacular scene. Jack, you're 5 years old and you're asking about elephants playing. And yes, they do. Most animals play, believe it or not, Jack. There's a great book that goes deep into animals playing. And there's many reasons for this, but ultimately, animals also like to have fun. Releases happy chemicals in their brain, exercises their muscles, helps social bonds. So a lot of animals, including fish, including wriggly worms, do things for fun. And elephants, when they play, especially the boys, they like to do a bit of rough and tumble. They will wrestle, especially in the water, because of course water offsets the weight of their heavy, heavy bodies. And you'll find the boys climbing on top of one another, pushing one another over, touching each other with their trunks. Elephants are very tactile animals. They like to touch one another, be in physical contact with one another with their trunks, the most sensitive, important organ an elephant has. Especially within a herd. You wouldn't see elephants touch one another if they're not in a herd together. This is so lovely, and it's this path that the elephants are walking away was the exact same sort of route the herd that we had yesterday took. I feel like this is some sort of elephant corridor. They're thirsty. They're not jumping in because it's not hot. Lynn? Liz. Sorry, Liz. You're saying this is what you call peaceful. Yes. Gives me great pleasure to show you all scenes like this. We just saw them from a distance. There's rumours of wild dogs racing in the direction of Djuma from the south. So we maybe get to see them, and I'm also in the area of the den where I want to go back and check to see if we can see, well, any of our spotted friends. We spoke yesterday about the coordination of the trunk. You see this youngster, Davy, at 12 o'clock on the right. This youngster's now old enough to be able to coordinate all of those muscle bundles on the trunks. Sorry, Rebecca, can you repeat that question one more time? Can Wagner, you're asking, can elephants distinguish me from the car? So I'm guessing what you mean by that is separating the human part from this sort of mechanical, well, hunk of junk that I am driving. And no, I don't think so on some levels, but on some levels, yes. And what I mean by that is when we spend a lot of time with many of the mammals out here, they look me directly in the eye. From elephants to leopards to lions, hyenas, even dogs. I've had direct eye contact with wild dogs. So they are able to directly meet my eye in this entire sort of area of the vehicle, which makes me think they are aware there's a presence. But what they're not aware of is that I am human sitting on a vehicle, if that makes sense. So if I was to jump off this vehicle now, I would become something completely different. I would become almost like a primate, a bipedal man on two legs, standing upright, and I would become a threat. And they would all run. These elephants would probably all run from me. I'm obviously not going to do that. But when I'm on the car, I'm part of the car, but they are still aware that there is a presence on that car. I hope that makes sense. But they won't see me as the bipedal man that I would become if I jumped off. I hope that makes sense, Wagner. There's lots of debates about that topic. And some people think they don't see any sort of living presence on a vehicle at all. But I disagree with that, with the eye contact that I get from the animals. The minute you see Tandy or Kalamba, Tingana, they look straight into your eye. They don't search for your eye. They know exactly where the living presence is, and they know how to make eye contact with you. Amoy adults, not so much. But calves, like we've got that tiny little calf right there drinking, that size, yes, that size of elephant, absolutely. Lions would try for that. Probably, I think a single lion could take a calf that size down, but normally it's a cooperative effort from the pride. I have seen lion prides try to take down bigger elephants that are alone, but with a herd, it's all about herd life. They protect one another. And if lions were to approach this dam right now, you would see every single elephant come together to almost create a cement brick elephant wall. And they would charge. They would keep their youngsters in the middle, and all the big adults would create a sort of fortress around the outside. But yes, if a calf was on its own, that one's struggling to get it. Yes, lions would. Leopards, not so much, unless there was a small injured calf that had been left behind by the herd, which is highly unlikely, and a leopard stumbled across it. They would take that opportunity, but they wouldn't essentially hunt it. Most predators are opportunistic. They will seize any opportunity that they can see fit. I think I'm just going to follow them for a little bit in case the dogs pop in at that side, and then we're going to loop round and then we will go back to the den, I promise. Victoria matriarchs within elephant herds are said to be the oldest female. Not always the biggest, but as a general rule of thumb, when you're trying to pick out who could be the matriarch, you would look at the largest female. And she's the oldest because she's acquired so much knowledge. The role of a matriarch in an elephant herd is so integral to their lifestyle. Elephants cannot survive without the herd, and they cannot survive without the matriarch. So normally when a matriarch passes away, okay, we're going to get another view of them here. It's the next oldest female. Doesn't necessarily need to be a direct relative. Here we are, we've got them all. How is this, Javi? I think they're all going to go this way. So yes, a matriarch would be determined by the next oldest in line stepping up and taking their place. But hopefully we'll get more views of these elephants. I'll come back to that matriarch topic in just a moment.
We managed to get back into the river, and there's quite a big giraffe that has moved into the trees just off to the back. But have a look at the whole pride, showing signs of interest. It's actually one of the lionesses that are looping around. So let's see what's going to happen from here. There's 14 lions that I counted now. You'll see some are trying to loop around, but we'll see where that giraffe is moving, because I think they might have spotted these lions. I think they might have given up on it, because that giraffe has moved into the thicket, and I can't see the other. There was a lioness that started looping around that thick bush right in front of them, and then eventually I think she might have gone and lied down. So let's just give it a couple of minutes and then maybe see if we can reposition the vehicle to get a bit closer. I think they might have lost their interest. You can see the one is still up with it. Oh, there's actually a few. But let's see that one that's moving closer, if they've lost interest or not. You can see the one is still sitting and looking in the direction where we saw the giraffe earlier. So with the vehicle, what we try and do, especially if we do see something in the distance, we'll switch off and almost allow the animals, whatever it might be, hunting, just to hunt. So instead of just driving directly behind them, because then of course maybe the noise from the vehicle could, whatever's they might be looking to possibly hunt, will then look towards the vehicle and of course spot the lions. However, in this case, the giraffe already looked like it might have spotted the lions before we even arrived. Because as you can just see in the riverbed here, there's not a lot of cover for these lions. And I mean, giraffe are probably one of the animals that have the best eyes in the bush, according to, it's just my personal opinion. They do have extremely good eyesight. And so for these lions being in an open area like this, very exposed, there was no way that they can just sneak up on that giraffe without it knowing it was there. Like, yes, they had the wind in their favor. Maybe they were a little bit down, or there was a bit of a distance between them and the giraffe. But however, I do think that giraffe probably, as it turned around, would have spotted them, and that's why I decided to quickly move off. But I just wanted to finish my thought while we're having a look at this young white lion here, is that so with albinism, there's a big lack of pigment, and so often behind the ears, you'll notice on this one, there's a bit of black behind the ears. So if it was an albino, there would be no black behind the ears. Often the eyes would be a different color. There'd be a lot more pink around the nose and the inside of the mouth and around the edges of the eyes, where with these, they still have that normal color and the normal color of lions in terms of their eyes. But not to the extreme of albinism. But it is like, it's not a far variant from it. So just a little bit right from here, this actually looks like the young female and another lion that at the moment they're grooming one another. So I think, imagine having that kill and there's all this blood and maybe a bit of other contents like stomach content that might be on it, so they just help each other just to clean it off. See, that one's cleaning its paw, and then this young white female, she's just licking like around the neck and the hair of this, or around the ears and the neck of this other one. You can see her right and left leg are stained with blood, as well as under her chin and neck. So I'm sure she had not a big portion, but maybe like at least a few scraps. Now, what would be interesting, though, is to see if that lioness with the young cubs, if she might have joined up with the pride and eventually could come down. I'm wondering, because I'm also thinking that maybe with that carcass being done, she would have already started coming down, but it doesn't look like she's here. I'm sure with lions there's always a reason for everything that they possibly would do. I mean, and they're very, the social structure is also very interesting, especially with this pride. But I do think, just noticing by the way that they are lying down. So, of course, that young male, often I think over the last little while, he's been pushed out by the Ross male so many times that he's always on the outskirts. But you'll notice that all the youngsters are more at the back and the females towards the front. And I think the reason could be because of the giraffes that were there, all the more experienced lions started moving to the front, where they are a lot closer to communicate with one another and then probably plan their hunting tactic from there. And all the youngsters were lying down towards the back. Of course, that young male, he won't really be able to participate in the hunt. However, he wants to make sure that he's at least with the pride. If something does happen, that he can try and get a meal out of it as well. But look at his leg. I mean, that left leg a while ago almost looked like he lost all the muscle in that leg, and it's recovered so well. But you can see his mane is slowly starting to develop, and he's going to be a beautiful male lion when he grows a little bit older from now. But I'm just glad his leg is slowly recovering. But what amazes me often with lions, when that happens, the chances are very unlikely for survival, but he's just been able to push through. I think he's also been stealing quite a few leopard kills. Scavenging from possibly wild dogs if there was any kill. And then, of course, just spending some time around this pride. Angie, I think with him, eventually he could potentially help them hunt. I mean, if there's an opportunity that goes his way and he can take it down, I think he'll take it down, but not so much to help the pride. I think he'll just take it down so that he can possibly start feeding. And then the rest of the pride, of course, they will join, and he will allow them to join because they are part, and they always allow him to join as well. However, I think he won't solely go and hunt and then come back and call the pride. I think if he makes a kill somewhere and there aren't any other lions around, I think he'll feed as much as he possibly can. Where sometimes with the females, what they tend to do, especially if there's young cubs, they'll make a kill, eat a little bit, and then go back, call the cubs and bring them to the kill. But I don't think he'll do that. You might hear something like a flute in the background, but all that is just the wind blowing through the pipes. So with the vehicle, there's a few pipes or holes in the pipes, and as the wind is blowing from the lines towards us, it's actually just blowing over those holes, making that noise. So it just tells you that the wind is slowly starting to pick up, but it's blowing from the lines towards us. Where the giraffe was basically where the lines are just downwind from where the giraffe was.
So, like I was saying earlier, this temperature's really dropping dramatically now, and I'm going to take a wild guess on this, and I'm going to say we may not be seeing meerkats this morning, but I could be completely wrong. You know, you might get one that might pop its head up, look around and go straight back down, but with these temperatures it's probably unlikely. The challenge though for these little animals is going to be to try get enough energy to keep going through this next week. Adrian and Luca have just asked, who are the little six? So we've got the little five here, and I'm sure I can find a sixth one for you if you want, but we've got ant lions, we've got rhino beetles, we've got leopard tortoises, we've got elephant shrews, and then the number 5, which is a bird that's very, very uncommon here, but they do occur here, is called a buffalo weaver. So, you know, number 6, I'd have to think, what would number 6 be? I'll think about that. But yeah, so interestingly, I was just asked recently to write an article on for our marketing team on the little 5, and I actually said let's rather do that in the summer months, because at the moment all of those except the elephant shrews, or what we call sengis, those are very active now because they'll be active right through the year, but everything else really has taken a back seat at the moment. We're going into the winter, well, we're deep in winter now, and most of these things aren't active. But what I will do, I'll make a point, if we find any of those, I'll point them out to you, because they're really, really, really cool little animals. And I love those little links between big 5, small 5. Yeah, there's absolutely no tracks around here whatsoever. Just rodents, just mice that have been active, but nothing else. On this side over here, and Jandra and I will walk around here a little bit later, and I'll show you, we've got really good examples of spring air tracks. So spring air is another rodent that we get out here. It's a nice big nocturnal one. We won't see them, unfortunately, at the times that we're active. They only come out much later, but there's been a lot of activity of them around the area as well. But no hyenas, no jackal signs. So this area seemed to have been a very, very quiet last night. But I'm quite impressed with how this cold front came in. And interestingly, or actually very typically, the wind was blowing out of the north, so it was a northerly breeze yesterday from that side, cutting across, and it is now completely shifted. It's blowing straight out the south. Beverly's just asked, where are all the armored ground crickets? Let me show you one. Let me show you one right now. We have an armored ground cricket for you, Beverly. Right here. Here we go. Here's an armored ground cricket. There you go. You see there, he's looking a little bit the worse for wear. He's actually been stuck here by a butcher bird, or a common fiscal shrike, some people might know it as, and he's long dead. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of armored ground crickets around. I will actually scavenge around here now, and I'll see if I can actually find even one that's still alive. But I doubt whether that's going to be very easy.
We just try to reposition a little bit to have a different angle on these lines. So you can notice that most of them at the moment are just grooming themselves and cleaning themselves by, like you can see the one especially off to the right of the screen, some of them that are licking their paws and then brushing that paw through their face in order to clean themselves. You'll see they'll just have a look at that. I think this one closer to us is a bit tired. Look at the way that she might be lying down with her head in the sand. I'm just trying to see if that one that we can see on the screen is the young. Is that the young female? I'm just trying to see if it's the young female that had that horrible thing around her eye. It does look like it might be her. And I just want to see if there's any other ones around. But if that's her, just have a look at how well her eye has healed. You can actually see the whole eye, and there's not a lot of red or anything around. So just behind them, you can see the way she's looking back. There's two other lions. It's a young male and probably his mother. And look at how he's lying down with his head basically on his mom's paws. And then she's just quickly cleaning him. So often, especially when they do feed, so when they do tend to feed, there's not a lot of love shown, because it's all about how much each lion can get for themselves, because they never know when their next meal is going to be, and they need to fight for that. But afterwards, normally what they tend to do is they'll come together and then they'll re-establish that social bond. Jolly Whiskey, I think it's a very interesting question. I mean, we've had a few discussions about why this male would be with the Pride and why they still tolerate him. Like, you would almost expect now for these females, especially with the youngsters around and them growing, that it becomes harder and harder for them to find food. And if there is any food that they do find, there's of course less portions for everyone because of the fact that all the lions are growing at the moment. And that's probably one of the reasons they have to move so often, because they're probably trying to look out for so many different hunting opportunities. I mean, something like that impala was a nice little snack, but it's definitely not something to sustain them. And so I also think because he's been with the Pride for so long, they still show a little bit of tolerance towards him. However, we have seen quite a few times where the Pride has tried to get rid of him, where they would often, if he calls or he contact calls, where they wouldn't respond and they'll just keep on moving. But normally when the bigger males come in, that's where they'll start pushing him out. But it'll be interesting to see over the next little while if they're going to still tolerate him or start pushing him out, because he's already close to 4 years, and normally they'll start pushing them out at 1.5 to 2.5 years.
While we're waiting here, we've got this magnificent sable bull that has just come walking across just to the north of the burrows over here. He's making a beeline down to the waterhole that we sat waiting at yesterday, and it may in fact even be one of the same bulls that we saw yesterday. I think it is. I'm just going on the shape of the horns there. I know that sounds really funny because, well, all sable horns are the same shape, but you get a feeling for the different animals and that, and like the amount of spread on them, you know, do they curl right over, or do they go up at more, you know, slightly less of a curl, or do they move out or very narrow together and straight back? I think this is one of those bulls that was there yesterday. He's trotting off. I don't know what triggered that. There was a report of cheetah in the area this morning as well. They wouldn't go for a sable like that. A sable bull like this would sort cheetah out in a heartbeat. That would be a bridge too far for cheetah. I'm not going to lie, everyone, it is freezing cold here now.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Welcome back, everyone. Again, we left the big male line, so now we just come across again to these two Sabi that we left earlier, and they seem to be cover long distance where we left them, so we didn't expect them to see them around. As we come across them, we find them just lying right here. Here we are. These are the same where we start with this morning. So look like they must be exhausted again, because the ground they cover like easily 2 to 3 kilometers where they walk this morning, so which is quite a long distance. And also there was a report of another 2 lioness around in the area. We're actually expecting to see those ones. See, maybe they'll be hunting. So far we haven't come across those. It's just a lovely place here where they are. Sometimes the warthogs love to come around to this place to because this time of the year, the warthog, they feed more from the grass roots, which is very nice for them, for these guys, if they come across where the warthog does that, because they're only focusing on digging, and these guys, they get a very good chance to start stalking for them. So far, the warthogs are not around here. Yeah, look at that cute face. Comparing the big male lion we just saw earlier, his mane is very, very small. If you look around next to him, there's an old bone. So he's just lying there next to that bone. He's just hoping it was him. Make the kill there. Look at this, looking at us. It's a lovely young male. And it's just, look at that lioness, she just picked it up. Also looking far from them. Must be picking up a scent or hearing something. It's a cute face. going to go anywhere. We'll just sit here with them and enjoy them. They might have been trying quite a number of times the distance they already covered, because there are so many Ngalas around, sometimes warthogs, because these guys are still learning how to hunt. They can easily make so many mistakes as they're moving along. What I like this morning is so nice. Sunshine is beautiful. Yeah, as you can see, they're just lying nicely here. We'll just see here, see what's going to happen if they want to hunt.
So from from Djuma, all the way from Phinda to the beautiful Timbavati here in Ngala, it's just amazing to be able to sit with the pride of lions. And so I'm just lowering my head out of the way because one of them just moved quite fairly close to us. So I had just to lean out of the way so we can get just a segment on her. But just notice with her, like, I mean, if you compare her against the youngsters, you'll notice that there's quite a few little spots on her back leg, especially the right back leg. Just notice there's a bit of spots, and then as you go towards the belly, suddenly the spot starts disappearing. Now, when they're very young, lions are often covered with these spots. They almost look like very small, tiny leopards. And as they start getting older, they start losing that. Now, some might lose it, others don't. But normally the females are a bit lighter in color. I've seen with the males sometimes, especially around their belly, on their back, they're a lot more of a gray, darkish color in comparison to the females. It looks like that our young female that was earlier lying down next to her mom, she's actually gotten up and she's making her way Denise, I'm not too sure. Like, I mean, there's a lot of theories of why they have like that little bits of white, especially if they do lie down. I mean, there's a chance that, they blend in very well, especially with the grass. But the white under the eye is very significant. So there's some theories that think that with having that white under the eye, it helps to reflect light into their eyes. So mainly lions, they do hunt at night, and they do see better than most animals. And so in the daytime, often you'll find that cheetah would hunt. Now, cheetah have like what's known as those tear marks. They have the black marks in order to absorb the light and not reflect them into the eyes. Whereas with lions, because they mainly hunt at night, the theory is that that white helps to reflect light into the eyes, therefore creating better night vision for them to see. See that young female's on her way back. Now, I just want to have a look at her. I was so worried when it looks like her eye is fully recovered. I think Sean was doing one of his drives. He said that I think it was called the lollipop eye, where the whole bottom part of the eye was actually like swollen up, but it looks like she's recovered. I'm very glad about that. I just didn't hope that she would have lost an eye, especially at that young age, which could happen, but luckily it didn't happen with her. It's just so interesting. I mean, having a look at that subadult male, how close he's lying down next to that lioness, and still she's just tolerating him. And it might be because I just want to have a look. That might even be his mom.
Guys, I am laughing so much. This is incredible. We have snow in the Kalahari. You heard that correctly. We have snow in the Kalahari. So this is the third time in 15 years that I've seen it. Those mountains out in the distance there are getting a dusting of snow as we're standing here speaking. I'm hoping it actually moves right over to where we are here. This is absolutely fantastic. So I was saying how this temperature's been dropping and dropping and dropping. That's why I'm also like slurring a little bit. It's not deliberate, I promise. But yeah, there's some snow there. This is absolutely incredible. This is incredible. This couldn't be a better morning. This is just getting better by the second now. Unfortunately, the snow that we get here, it's normally just an incredibly light dusting. So Jandra and I will not be skiing today, I promise you. And it doesn't last for very long. But it's amazing to see this. And so this was forecast for this area, like the Southern Cape Mountains, right up through the central parts of South Africa, and just touching up to where we are now. Tomorrow's asked if we prepared for the snow in the Kalahari. Yeah, this kind of snow, fine. It's it's not going to last for very long. It normally just gives a very, very light coating, and it lasts a couple of hours, and then it's gone again. But yeah, so we'll be warm enough, and I'm a big believer in, if you're like me and that you're that stupid and you go out in cold weather and you're not kitted well, then it's entirely your own fault. So please, no one should have sympathy for me. I have extra jackets in the car, but I'm just not walking up to go get them. So I'm quite happy, actually. But I'm just absolutely loving this weather. There are others that aren't, like the meerkats. That we snow like this out here, so this is just incredible. And the fact that it's just moving, I'm really hoping that we actually get some here where we're standing. We could, and if we get it, we'll come straight over to us and we'll have a look. But this is this is incredible seeing it out here, and it is just so rare to see this. And I'm hoping that it actually moves right across to where Jandre and I are here. And just out of interest, if our screen ever freezes at any time, you'll know why. It's just but there are others here that are not that enchanted with this cold weather, and those are the meerkats. They are still in bed now.
So from snow to a warm day up at andBeyond in Ngala, so it's actually starting to warm up so much here that we'll have to take our jackets off soon. And I can't believe that not even probably 800-900 kilometers in the opposite direction there's snow up at Tswalu Kalahari. But I think as we are enjoying a little bit of the sun here, so are these lions. And you can see they've also moved into quite a bit of shade. I think as it warms up, because today it looks like it might be a warm-ish day, that they'll eventually just move and follow the shade of the river for quite a bit. Just have a look at this young male here. I mean, if you look at his neck, you'll almost see there's quite a bit of fluff, especially not so much behind his neck, but right in front on his chin and onto his chest. Now, often the young males is only when they get to like 4.5, 5 years, maybe even 6, before they have quite an impressive mane to show. But for now, they're still very young. Now, if we give it some time, let's see how they're going to react. There's another lion that's on her way to come and join up with the rest of them. Look at how relaxed this young male is as well. Now, remember earlier we spoke about the spots on their legs and belly. Now, have a look at the amount of spots on his legs in comparison to that female we saw earlier. So that's what I'm thinking. As they get older, they'll start losing it. But I think it's just another female that decided to come and lie down here at the back. But very, very relaxed. And I won't even be amazed, I mean, with them, if they're going to spend most of the day in this area. Because all they also need to do now, as you can imagine for lions, is if they do move quite a bit, especially during the night, they need to conserve a bit of energy. Because, I mean, with the water now concentrated only to a few areas, you find that their movements are quite long. and they have to move quite far in order to get from one place to another, especially where it comes to water, and also looking out for animals near the water. And so if they can, they'll go and lie down like this and conserve as much energy as they possibly can before they move off. But even notice with this youngster here, those long eyelashes. Beautiful, like look at the colors of the eye. You'll notice that white underneath the eye, a little bit of patch of white above, and then that dark streak that runs from the eye down to in the direction of the nose. And then of course that prominent white chin. Now right next to that one is that young white male lying down in the sun. But if we can have a closer look at him, just notice like the color of his nose and around his mouth. Now remember early on we spoke about albinism and leucistic. So albinism, if you look at his nose, the inside of his nose and the outline of his mouth would probably have been a lot pinker in color, like it would lack a lot more pigmentation than this, where here you'll actually notice there is a bit of dark inside the nose, like from the base of the nose going down and like around the edge of the mouth. And normally with the younger lions, they do have these pinkish noses, but as they start getting older, they'll turn dark in colors. Not always the case, but it is a reference that we can use. But just notice, in comparison to the lioness right next to it, the difference in the color.
Finally, we have managed to find some animals, which is good. The elephants on their way to Buffelshoek Waterhole, which is the waterhole northeast of Djuma. And they're in a nice, calm attitude. I believe it's snowing in the Kalahari, which blows my mind. I can't even imagine that. These elephants will never have seen snow. They will never see snow. I'd say that with almost 100% certainty. Gabby, you find albinism in all species, but mostly it's partial. So it doesn't occur completely. And in elephants, you do find this partial albinism. You'll just find patches of totally pigment-free skin. An albino elephant, though, would die almost straight away because it just couldn't cope with the sun. I think it would weaken and die very, very soon after birth. So I've never heard of a fully albino African elephant in the wild. There's a lot of melanin in the skin of an elephant, which is why they are that grey colour. Excuse me. And it is important for protection against the sun. They spend a lot of time out in the sun. There's not a great deal of shade, especially in the winter months. And although there are trees, there are a lot of them that an elephant is unable to fit underneath, or in whose shade the elephant is unable to take shelter. They're all having a delicious meal of round-leaf teak, or Pterocarpus rotundifolius at the moment. And they don't eat the wood, they only eat the bark. They just strip the bark off the young shoots. And then these plants, it's quite a remarkable plant as we watch this young bull coming to give us what for. Hello. It's a remarkable plant because, as I've mentioned many times, in the absence of elephants, it grows into a tree that you can plank and make furniture out of. But when elephants are around, it becomes a scrubby bush with an extremely heavy and dense and dangerous for cars subsurface stump, sometimes up to sort of 3 meters wide. So all of the woody growth happens beneath the surface of the soil. There's a big herd, there are lots all around us. Very nice. Riva, yes, you would expect albinism to survive in a population, and individuals with albinism to survive the higher the latitude you go. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the northern hemisphere, but it would have to be at very high latitudes, so closer to the poles, or anywhere where there is just not that much sun. I still don't think it's particularly healthy to have absolutely no melanin in the skin. Now, human beings are quite a nice example of this. Albinism is distinct from leucism. Now, white human beings are basically leucistic human beings, Caucasian human beings. We've lost the melanin, and that was, we think, largely as a result of mainly natural selection. As human beings moved out of Africa up into the north, you needed vitamin D, which comes from, or you need more vitamin D because there's much less sun up in northern Europe, especially in the wintertime, and melanin protects you from the sun but also reduces the amount of vitamin D that can be produced, which is absolutely fine if you're being protected by it in Africa or the warm parts of Africa, but hopeless if you're up in the northern climes of northern Europe. And so human beings lost their melanin. Now, I'm not entirely sure, at least Caucasian human beings lost a lot of their melanin. But Caucasian human beings still have some melanin. They're leucistic. They don't have no pigmentation at all. So true albinism is very unusual. You do get albino Caucasian people, and you obviously get albino African people. And in both cases, it's very rare. There's much more normally a variation in the amount of melanin that there is in the skin. And so environmentally, yes, you would expect an albino human being, regardless of whether they were African or European, to have a better time of it at higher latitudes than they would at lower latitudes where we find ourselves now. Humans are a quite nice case study of what happens. No, Peter, elephants don't get skin cancer. Elephants actually hardly get cancers at all. And there's a very complicated reason for that, but basically their bodies fight off cancers much more effectively than many other bodies. And in fact, I think it's got something to do with size. Large animals tend to fight off. The heavier the animal, the greater the chances that it'll be able to fight off cancers. And I've read the article, but I've since forgotten exactly what the mechanism of that is. But the other thing to remember is that this animal is unlikely to get skin cancer because it's living in an environment in which it was designed to live. So it has enough melanin to cope with the sun that it exposes its body to every day. It also doesn't expose itself to any other of the toxins that human beings would expose themselves to. So a human being that is prone to or unlucky enough to get a skin cancer has probably spent too much time in the sun without being melanistic. So a Caucasian in a high latitude or low latitude area without sufficient sun protection. A human being also who has filled its body with things that it wasn't necessarily designed to process. So the foods we eat, the pollutants we inhale, the stress that we live in. All of these things combine to allow cancers to form. And none of those conditions, which cancer finds so, I suppose, fertile, it's the wrong word, but fertile in the human species, occur in other species like these elephants, because they just don't, they live in precisely the environment in which they evolved to live. And I've banged on about this quite a lot, because often people say, you know, do animals get cancers? Do they get diabetes? Do they get all these other lifestyle diseases that we get? And the answer is very seldom. So she just gave us a little warning there. And now she's eating very peacefully. Calling, look at it blowing dust. The reason she's doing this is she's just watching us carefully, probably just enjoying the feel of the sand on her very sensitive trunk tip. Isn't that cool? This is interesting. Can I be of some assistance, my dear? I don't think there's any need to be uppity with us. I don't think we're being offensive in the least. We're speaking quietly. I can now smell her quite strongly. This is normal behavior for a young bull. Not common with, not common with a cow. She's not an old cow though. She's quite, she's probably about 25. If she was a big cow and doing this, I would consider starting the engine, because it's seldom that you get the kind of playful behavior. No, I don't think so, Meggie Moo. I think this female has had her first estrus and definitely had her first or maybe even second calves. And if she moves her front foot forward, which she will eventually, you'll see that she's probably lactating slightly. So no, I don't think she's in a first or second estrus. She might be coming into an estrus. Maybe she's about to come into estrus. Naturally, she's now hidden her mammary gland behind that bush, but she's definitely had calves before. But that's a good thought, that she's coming into estrus. She might just be experiencing a slightly heightened, I don't know, sense of potential irritation, like the bulls do when they're in must. But what is interesting here is that the rest of the herd's moved on, and she is behaving very much like a young bull does, where they engage with you. They're trying to they have a conversation with you. Normally because they're bored, it would seem. And this is one of those unusual times when we're having the same kind of interaction with a cow. Normally they are very busy in the herd, you know, looking after youngsters even if they don't have calves their own. Well, she seems to be approaching us, and when a cow does approach you, normally it's in a defensive way, but there are no other elephants close to us, so she can't be really defending anyone from us. There are some elephants behind us. I think elephants hesitate sometimes when stepping for a number of reasons. One, they don't want to trip over anything. Two, they might spike their feet. And three, I think the one that you are thinking about is that thing that they do when they kind of stop and then lift a foot, swing it from side to side. And they do that when they are feeling slightly uncomfortable or undecided about what to do. It's a little bit like you fidgeting with your hands or not really knowing whether to go left or right somewhere, and you'll kind of stand on one foot briefly and then move on. And it's just that sort of thing. Many of the elephant behaviors I find can be likened to some of the human ones. We'll head off now to the waterhole and see if the elephants arrive there.
We are at a waterhole, but we're looking at giraffe. Apologies for the dreadful sound you can hear in the background. It is a train that is traveling not too far away from us. Now there's zebra alarming, but they might be shouting at the train. There's so much drama going on in the bush today. I cannot tell you what a run-around, race-around day it has been chasing after a male leopard. We've had his tracks, we've had monkeys alarming, we have had guinea fowl alarming, and we got to this rocky ridge where unfortunately we had no signal, and I'm 900% certain that this male leopard is in there because his tracks also go straight in that direction. But there was a herd of elephants moving through there too, so I thought, no signal, elephants, we'll come and look at some giraffe instead. So you can see the giraffe are looking in the direction of where the zebra started alarming. I don't think you would have heard the zebra, but they sort of gave their classic, I don't know, Gert, you can do the zebra bleating noise very well. Please, can you demonstrate it? And I think I've spoken to you about this before. There's no person in the history in the world that can do a zebra call properly except Gert. He's proven me wrong. Anyways, we know giraffe are fairly silent and they don't make too much noise, so we won't be hearing them say anything. But this is the same herd of giraffe that we saw yesterday. They haven't moved too far away, and I saw their tracks. They basically just did a big loop around Leopard Dam and are now feeding on the northern side. And when we found them yesterday, they were on the southern side. So there's about 5 or 6 of them just all scattered out in this area. Hopefully if we just hang around the watering hole, I think that's what we're going to do for the rest of the morning. We'll just see an abundance of animals come through because it's uncomfortably warm this morning and I can feel a bit of a berg wind, which is not great, but I think that cold front is going to be moving in soon. I thought it was supposed to start today, but apparently not. It wasn't even cold this morning. Except at Tswalu, exactly. Ashton, I would say yes, that a giraffe's length of its neck is about the same length of its legs. Because if you look at its body, it kind of looks like it's half and half. I wouldn't say the length of their neck is only a third of their body. I think it's almost equal proportions. But actually, I'm not sure of the measurements of the neck versus the legs. But I think it depends on also each species of giraffe. I think they all are slightly different, like with humans. Sometimes some people have a longer torso than others, and I might have longer legs than another person that's even the same height as me. So I think you have to take that into consideration as well. But I wonder if there is an average that has been done on giraffe that live in zoos, because obviously it's really quite easy to do different studies on animals, especially if they're in zoos and get measurements. It's a lot harder to do these types of things on wild animals without having to sort of dart them. Oh, that giraffe's got very full cheeks. It's been munching on lots and lots of leaves. So, Mike, yesterday we were actually chatting about the age of giraffes, and so one thing again you have to remember is that giraffe will probably not all of them will reach their maximum life expectancy, which is probably early 20s or so. I reckon if a giraffe makes it to sort of late teens, that's good going, because it's hard for them to live out here. They don't have anybody to take care of them when they start to get old, and they can't eat as much food as they're supposed to. Sure, and if they're injured, that's even harder for them, and there's lots of predators out here. Not that I've seen any of the lion pride specializing in hunting giraffe, so that takes a bit of practice to do. So they don't live for too long. But I think I'll go a little bit closer, or maybe even head round to see if we can find the zebra.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Good luck with your zebras, Taylor. I've not had much luck this morning, but we have came across a magnificent waterbuck. And it's the same territorial male that we see every day now around this dam. This is Votella Dam. He's a very relaxed waterbuck, and he's obviously set up territory right in front of the dam cam, which is great news for us. Magnificent. Older bull, look at the length of those horns. And just generally quite relaxed. No female waterbucks in this area though, so he may be a tad lonely. But male waterbucks are territorial, near water bodies, and they generally are solitary. Younger ones can form bachelor herds, but the older ones generally solitary. We did a den check. It is zebra. Sorry, it's been baffling me what has been moving through the thicket here. And we have our zebra. I know Taylor's looking for hers. I've been looking and looking, thinking, what is that? But I'm not entirely sure we're going to be able to get them. Can you see them, Darby? Yeah, there you go. It's been catching my eye this entire time. And it's the zebra that we've been lucky enough to see around here recently. The wind is very strong, and I think that's affecting a lot of the animals' movements. It's not the best views of them. So I'm going to go forward, see if we can get a better view of our wonderful waterbucky. The elephants were not too comfortable at Treehouse Den, and I do wonder if it's also because of the wind. Okay, one last beautiful view of this Mr. Waterbuck before we eventually head on back to the hyena den.
Now, I know you're probably wondering what on earth are you looking at in the car, but we've got a pair of robber flies that are mating, which is quite interesting. These are very, very hairy robber flies. I'm not sure which species it is, but you can see that there are actually two. At first I thought, it's caught some prey, but that does not seem to be the case at all. That's interesting. They've been mating for quite some time now too. Not that I've been timing it. And I actually don't know much about robber fly mating. I'm going to have to really read up about that, because I wouldn't be able to tell you how often do they mate. Do they mate with more than one? Goodness, these are some unanswered questions that one day I will get back to you about. But we've seen lots and lots of robber fly species on WildEarth, especially when we used to do the bushwalks. We used to watch them catching all sorts of things. But it's really interesting to see this particular species that's quite hairy. So I wonder if I look in my insect book a little bit later, I should be able to find which species this is. But they're really good predators. They're really good pest controllers to have around at home, because they eat grasshoppers and they'll catch caterpillars and they'll eat wasps. Sometimes I suppose they can be a bit of a pain, because they're also known to eat bees, and we know how important bees are. But anyways, I'm going to carry on around back towards my giraffe. I just thought I'd show you these. Off we go to Ngala, where they've got some elephants.
There are 2 elephant bulls right here in the riverbed. It's not too far from the lines. I think it's not even half a kilometer away. And it looks like 2 young bulls, and you can see that one with its front feet a little bit lower down in comparison to the hind feet. It's actually in a nice spot where it probably dug for some water earlier on. The one at the back was also drinking, but I can see it probably had enough and now starting to move on. I wonder how long this one is going to drink before it eventually decides also to move on. There we go. I think he might be just finishing up. Often with elephant bulls, especially these ones, just comparing. So there were 3 originally, now there's only 2. Now, all of them looked around about the same age. And I think, as we mentioned with the impala we saw this morning, that was a bachelor herd. So these are also probably just a small group of elephant bulls together. And what will happen is often they stay together, and the older elephants tend to get, especially the males, the more solitary they become. So the more you'll find them all by themselves, especially when they do go in that period known as must. But for now, still very young. It looks like the one just off to the left now has found a nice little patch of loose sand, and look at how it's just flicking it onto itself to cool down. Now, even though there is a bit of a breeze blowing, it is warming up quite a bit. And I can imagine later on from here on, probably just heading into a bit of shade. See, just relieving himself before he carries on. Just look at how he's scooping some sand and just blowing it around his face and then onto his back. They're very relaxed at the moment. Just look at this one, enjoying that water. You can see the tail moving. But really stands out is, at that angle, look at how the spine really stands out on this elephant. Especially like towards the back. Because I can imagine like angling down like that with the back legs being a slightly raised, it puts quite a bit of pressure on his back. So I don't think you'll be able to stand for that for too long. Or maybe you could, but if it was a lot deeper, I think it would be quite hard and put a lot of strain, especially like on the front part of his body. Well, I would say they would be able to do that. If you look at an elephant's eyes from close up, it always looks like it's facing down. And very often, like if elephants do spot something that's a little bit higher up than the level of their head, they tend to need to look up quite a bit in order to see it. So I think they'll be able to see what they would be feeding on. And also, I think a major thing for them would be touch. So you can just see sometimes with an elephant, often if they do feed, they carefully maneuver their trunk around to feel some of the branches, maybe even feel the grass, but they will be able to see it, I'm sure. But I think it's a combination of both. Sometimes they'll be able to see it, but I think if it's quite close to the front of their feet, they might just be using their trunk just to touch, grab it, and then of course just use their feet to hit it out of the ground and then put it into their mouth. And I wonder with this elephant, because he's been, like, you see that one that's moved up to the top there. So often with elephant bulls like this, is we spoke about it only briefly yesterday and the day before, in regards to how much elephants would possibly eat. Now, the thing with them, just judging by their size, they'll probably need to eat at least like 150 kilograms or more food a day in order to sustain themselves. So imagine that, that's like nearly 300 pounds of food, or more than 300 pounds of food a day. So after a good drink, they'll tend to just feed the whole time. Basically rest up a little bit as they go, but then eventually feed until they needing to drink again, and then head down to water and drink. So if the water is readily available, they'll drink quite often, but if not, they can go a few days without having to drink. But I think for now, with these elephants, I don't think they're going to be heading anywhere pretty soon. Mr. and Mrs. McDonald, I think with especially with elephants in particular, like if you look at their whole design, how everything is just attached, and also the skin looks like it's several sizes too big for it. It often shows that very prominent vertebra, and I also think it's the angle at which the ribs and all the bones are actually joined up to it. But I also think what makes it even more prominent is just the angle at which this elephant is standing at the moment, or both of them actually. Almost like standing down, because if they do move up, it's less prominent as you see now. But I think basically that's just their whole back structure, just to give support. I mean, like from the ears, you can almost see it does like a little dip, and then towards the back, it has that bit of a curve in it. But all of that is just basically the design of this elephant's back to give structure and strength. Especially, you can imagine all that weight between the legs in order to support all of that. But as I was mentioning, so I don't think they're going to be doing too much from here. I think let's carry on, because we still have to do a little survival talk and show you how to find your way using only a few resources that you might find as you carry on. So Justin, with the elephant bulls in general, so the herd of elephants, normally it's only the matriarch and a lot of females and their young calves. So sometimes the males that are with those calves, with the females, when they get to around about the age of 16, they get pushed out of the herd. And the reason for that is because with the whole structure, it's just mainly females, and then of course the matriarch that leads the rest of the herd. And I wonder, this is just a question putting it out there, and I wonder, because with elephant bulls, especially when they get to around about 25 years all the way up to 35 years of age, you often find that their testosterone level will start increasing quite a bit, and then often that could cause quite a lot of disturbance within the herd. So sometimes these bulls, when they're out there, you have some of the older bulls that actually keep them at bay, and then only once the bulls start getting a lot bigger, then they'll start challenging one another for the females, and then move into the herd, mate with whatever female might be ready to mate with, and then move out again. But I do think, especially with that whole transition, it might be because, I think it might just be because often with those elephant bulls, they do create quite a lot of stress within the herd itself. So that's why they tend to be probably pushed out to the side.
Now, there is a howling gale blowing. Really, it feels like I'm at the seaside. While you look at those water monitor lizards, I have read up on that article, courtesy of Judy H. naturally, and Nature, the magazine Nature. Few things to note about elephants and cancer quickly. The first is that I got it wrong. It's expected that the bigger an animal is, the more chances it would have of getting cancer, because of the fact that there is more cell division. And because there's more cell division, you'd expect there to be a greater number of genetic mutations which could possibly cause a cancer. And the fact that that isn't the case is called Peto's paradox, after Richard Peto. Anyway, one of the reasons that Peto's paradox has been explained is the existence of copies of a gene called TP53. Now, we as human beings have a copy of this gene, TP53, but elephants have 20 copies of it. And they reckon that that is one of the major reasons that they are protected from cancer more effectively than human beings are. So, thank you, Judy H, for that, and a lovely article you can find. I'll retweet it if you want it. You can find it on Twitter there. Now, on to the magnificent water monitor lizards that have taken up residence on this once proud and now fallen tree. There are two sitting there. I can see another one, which Niels won't be able to see. And so there's quite a population of these water monitor lizards starting to live here. And they wouldn't be living here if it wasn't for the fact that this poor tree had fallen over. So although I was very sad when it fell over, I'm not too dreadfully sad anymore, because, as is always the case, when a tree falls over, it becomes a haven for other life. It changes from one little ecosystem to another little ecosystem. Well, this wind blowing wouldn't surprise me if it starts snowing here sometime soon today. That's a joke. I don't think it's going to start snowing here. And this is the largest African lizard, in case you were wondering.
So we said we're going to try and see if we can make like a few different methods in order to find our direction, especially if we had to be somewhere out here and we didn't necessarily have all the tools that we could need in order to find direction. So let's say we didn't have a compass, we didn't know anything too much about the bush. Like, what are some of the ways in order for us to find where is east, where is west? Now, just basically in the southern hemisphere, the sun would always be on our northern side, but the sun comes up in the east, it goes down into the west, and north will be right in front of us. But now, what methods can we use in order to find that? And I'm only going to share two methods with you. There's a lot more, and hopefully we can share some as we go on the drives. So basically, all I got here is a little reed. So this is called the stick shadow technique. So this is one of the techniques we can use. So basically, I've taken this reed, and I'm going to plant it in the sand like this. Now, the sun is basically going to hit this reed and then cast a shadow all the way down to a certain point. So you can see the end of the shadow is right here. Now what I'm going to do, I actually got two markers. I actually picked up some giraffe dung just to use it as a marker. So I'll put the one there. And now in 15 minutes time, so because the sun goes from the east to the west, so the east is on my right, the west is on this side here. This shadow will eventually go all the way around like this, in this direction. When the sun came up this morning, it would have been probably around here, but then go all the way down, basically in this direction right here. It almost forms like a half circle that it would move in. Now, in 15 minutes time, or maybe half an hour like from now, this shadow here will probably be in line with this dung right over there. Now, as towards the end, we can have a look, but the shadow should be off that dung, but it will eventually move from there. So once you then, after 30 minutes, you've put it on and you tested it, it should be a straight east to west line that you have. So that's one method. It's called the stick and shadow technique. The other method we can use is using our watch. Now, I know because of the distance and that it'll be hard just to show you on the watch how it all works, but I've actually drew a watch, and I'm just going to draw in the time into this watch as it is right now at the moment. So the time here is, so let me know, I'm going to just ask if you can see this watch that I just drew right over here. Now, as I said, it might be hard to see, but I'm going to try and use my pen to explain. So 9 o'clock is here, and the time now is around about 25, it's 35 to I nearly got confused here, to 10, but it's almost 9:30. So if you look at this is the minute hand here, and this is the hour hand right over here. So in order to find north in the southern hemisphere, you must put the 12 on the sun where it is now. So let's say this is the sun right over here. I put the 12 on the sun. Between the sun, between the hour here and the 12 here, that is exactly north. So if I had to draw a line here, that would be north right over here. So if I test that, so I'm going to test that now, because north, based on this shadow technique, that's east, this is west, that's north, and this is south behind me. But if I had to change my book now, so basically put it towards the sun is directly there. Between the sun and my hour hand, which would be almost 9:30, is exactly north. So it's telling me it's right there. South is behind me, east is here, and west is down this direction. Now, the same method can be used to find south in the northern hemisphere, but I would like some of the kids, if you want to go and test this, or some of the adults that want to test it, like maybe if you can leave us some comments, what do you find work for you? And I would like to know from you, like I do know how to find it in the northern hemisphere as well, but I'd like to hear from you what techniques I can possibly use if I was stuck in the northern hemisphere to find my direction around here. Other ways, there's quite a few things we can use. Moss on trees, direction of trees. So please, if some of the viewers can send us some options for the evening drive, I would love to hear. But I just want to take the time now. So early on, as I put my notebook down, I moved the one, like the bit of the dung here. But I would just like to zoom in. I'm going to draw a circle around this. So have a look. The dung is right over here. And earlier on, that shadow was past the dung. And now it's already moved off. So eventually it would move there. So that's a direct east and west line to use. But those are just some of the methods. But hopefully, I'd love to hear from some of you what other methods we can possibly use.
I'm not even sure you're going to be able to hear me. It is so strong. Sabi and I have been battling against the winds here, but we are heading to some impala. Went to the den for the third time and nobody's there, not a soul. Didn't see a cub, did not see an adult. So slightly disappointing. As you know, I love to spend time with my hyenas. Oh, I'm sure the impala are nervous. Sabi, look, they're up on the termite mat. Let's see if we can get a view for you. Yes, they're all nervous. They're huddling together, and the reason being their hearing's affected. Impala also don't like it when it's too windy. So just a reminder for this afternoon's drive during the SABC show, we will be announcing the chosen names of our hyenas, the hyena cubs. We've given 4 names, 4 Shangaan names. I'm going to run through them in just a moment, and we will be announcing the winners. You can still vote, there's still time. It's a 24-hour poll, so you can go onto Twitter and vote for your favorite name. So just a reminder for you all, we have Misavu, which is humorous. We have Ngwazi, which is adventurous. We have Shimbulu, which means have heart. It's all about love, that one. And then we have Shitwisi, which means very active. So that's the 4 names in the poll. And in case any of you missed it yesterday, they were chosen by the rangers and the trackers of Djuma Lodge. They were the ones that decided those 4 names. So please, please do vote. I am also going to vote. I'm going to go onto Twitter and make sure I make my vote count too. And hopefully for this afternoon, the wind might settle down a little bit. It's not easy. The impala have got daylight on their side, so they can see. It's not nighttime, but they're still a little bit concerned here, as you can see, because of the really strong winds. So on that note, everyone, Southeast Safari for today has came to an end. So I just want to say thank you everyone for jumping on board. It's always a pleasure to have you, but please do join us this afternoon. Until then, have a great day.